motion 4, Councillor Geary. Can you please propose your motion on page 225 of the agenda? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The motion reads, Thurrock Council calls for our asset disposal process to include an emphasis on the importance of informal discussions with current occupiers of land and local residents, consultation with ward councillors, identification of multiple suitable sites to provide genuine choice, a more open and inclusive decision-making process. Madam Mayor, I think the motion is a relatively straightforward one. Over recent months, we've seen a number of instances where the council has moved to dispose of land. However, the first for anyone, that's residents, councillors or current users of the land, hear of the disposal is when it appears at committee as the final recommendation for decision. Even at that stage, they're not notified or allowed to help to build the plan. In 2 cases recently, the Corporate Overview and Scrutiny Committee has made cross-party recommendations asking for improvements in this process. It is bitterly disappointing that none of those recommendations was acted on or properly acknowledged. It is not good enough for a democratic organisation to behave in this way. I understand that there may be a review of our asset disposal process. I hope that we will take the opportunity to make real improvements, including some that I've laid out in this motion. Members run this council, and we should be involved from start to finish in every conversation about how our community assets are dealt with. We need to ensure that there are those informal discussions with current occupiers of land and the residents, that there is proper consultation and notification of ward councillors. We need a more open and inclusive process, which means that there is real choice in these decisions and a real ability to affect the outcome. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is that motion seconded? Councillor Geary, do you wish to speak now or reserve your right?
Reserve my right, please, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy?
Thank you very much. I'll fully be supporting this motion. It's something that's been a frustration for myself also on that committee. It's something we heard 2 years ago when this administration was formed. It was, we'll listen to what happens at committees. We're there to take your ideas and move forward with it. And what it feels now more and more is that you may as well shut down every committee in the council, because they're talking shops and they're ignored at every single recommendation they make. And it's really frustrating that we're in a democratic model where a party that doesn't have the majority of councillors, hasn't won a popular vote over the last 3 elections, is suddenly able to do whatever they please and everyone else is ignored. And it's why I've always supported the committee system model, and more that can be done to listen to everyone and get everyone's advice on board. Not just in this, it needs to be a cross-committee look, because if we can't get that consensus that Cabinet is listening to committees, and it's not just the 2 opposition parties. We had things where all 3 parties were against what happened and Cabinet blanked them. And if this isn't changed, then I fear there's no direction to go but bring in the full committee system, because we want that cooperation. I can understand the strength of the strong leader and Cabinet model, but if
anywhere near anyone and won't ever affect people. I'm a politician. I crave popularity. I really do. I never want negative stories published about myself or this administration. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes you make difficult decisions for the greater good. Sometimes you don't get to always agree with everybody at the same time. There will be 1,095 too few secondary school places in Grays by 2022. We have got to act. Now, we're proud of the fact that £17 million is going into 3 new schools and 6 school expansions. This is major investment for the borough, and it's going to create around about 2,500 good or outstanding school places around Thurrock. Our children need those places. And let's just compare and contrast, and this is not a political dig at Councillor Garish, far be it from me, but let's just compare and contrast his record when he was the portfolio holder and the mess that I inherited. The Manor School, the buildings that you gave over to that school when they converted. One of the buildings was so warped, they declared it dilapidated and they abandoned it. We, along with the government and the GLC, are spending £6 million to totally rebuild the Manor School in Tilbury. Not to the congratulations of anyone on the opposition benches, I would add. But £6 million to rebuild that school because they had an entire school block they could not use. The Harris Riverside School project, in the lead of the opposition's own ward, was delayed to the point it was risk not happening. We came in and we put a substantial amount of money in to make sure that project would happen. Because your own constituents, Councillor Garish, were getting bussed across the borough. And who can forget the protest that you faced when parents in Chapel 100 did not have a school to send their children to? Their children were getting bussed across the borough, and what did that do? It cost us millions in school transport, a massively inflated DSG overspend that we had to deal with. The point I'm making
Thank you, Councillor
is that you're
Howden.
running such a risk.
Thank you, Councillor Howden. That's 3 minutes. We're now moving on to Councillor Head.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to reflect, because there is an awful amount of false fury in this room this evening about this particular topic. I'm saying this not as deputy leader, not as a member of the person strong cabinet. I say this as a ward councillor for Stamford Hope West. A councillor who stood directly opposed to the previous cabinet's decision to dispose of assets, despite me and local representatives telling them that their decision was wrong. How dare they come in here and preach to us about us not listening to you? Don't you look me in the white of the eye and tell me that. You told me I was wrong, and you told the Stamford Hope West community that we were wrong. Well, guess what? No, folks, we weren't wrong, you were. Now, as perhaps habit, this motion I think is a good one. Right, so let's not go back over the history. I think I've done that and I've said my piece. But let's be honest. This is a sound motion, Oliver. I respect it because I think there is stuff that we have to do. I think it's disingenuous to imply that it is a single party which is presiding over this. I think there's continuous improvement, and I think we're all signed up to that. I think that's pretty much it. Councillor Howden's articulated in no uncertain terms that the scale of deficit that we're facing in Thurrock. I mean, literally, we inherited a council where, if I had 2 kids of the same age, I don't, but if I did, one of them would have a secondary school place to go to, and the other one wouldn't. What sort of inheritance is that? Ladies and gentlemen, we are governed by need, not desire. And these are the decisions that we have to take, because the only thing that matters at the end of the day is our young and aspiring people get to school, get educated, and have the best start and climb life's ladder. Madam Mayor, I think I've said everything I need to say.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Much as I appreciate the wonderfully choreographed outrage from my colleagues to the left, I think we should remember that it kind of demonstrates exactly the approach we've been talking about. Putting more accountability and more consultation earlier into the process is not about killing ideas, it's about making them more efficient to bring to fruition. We all know that we need places for school children. We don't need Councillor Hawden to tell us. All we object to is his idea of saying, if you want these places, do what I tell you or shut up. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Point of order, Madam Mayor, I didn't say that. I didn't say that the opposition could shut up. I did categorically not say that. You've got a 2-stage process. There is statutory consultation when open land is disposed of, which we currently involved in, you can engage in, and there is statutory consultation when we go through the planning process. You've got 2 legally binding processes to have your say. The community has that process as well. I couldn't revoke that even if I wanted to, which of course I don't.
Thank you, Councillor Howden. We're now going to move on. You did have that one to reply because you were named in that, so there you are. Councillor Steele.
I think there's a tone, there's a problem with tone, and it was with the rubbish, there was sort of an attitude where this is it, this is our plan, and we're not moving because the only alternative to moving is not having a school, and it's that sort of tone and stubbornness that we need. That's probably why you're regarded as Lucifer rather than the provider of a school place. That's why I don't do this. But in terms of the general, and this is why I will support this motion, is that not only are committees feeling increasingly redundant, but this chamber is as well. I mean, last council, there was nothing in the agenda. There was no point of CPP. It's tragic. This time we've had one report, which because you, in my opinion, haven't coordinated your efforts with the other groups properly, you've had to poll. The one thing of substance in this report, you've had to poll government legislative changes. But you've got to realise that you haven't got a majority of 10. Yeah, there's tough business to get through. You need to look at the way that you are approaching your interaction with other groups, because it's not going to help anyone in the long run. We've got to stop it.
Thank you. Councillor Gerard Rice.
Thank you, Madam. Yes, of course, a very good motion. When it comes to Elm Park, that could be saved, and it's quite clear what we could do. In recent months on the planning committee, we've had a couple of applications refused because residents didn't feel like they wanted homes built around lower part of Grays, and the officers supported that. Now these are chunks of land that well could be used so that a park could be saved. So I would ask that this be explored. And I'd be quite happy to give the information later to where this plot of land is, because I think we've got to look at alternatives. We can't, it's like someone turning up to Chadwell St Mary and saying, oh, by the way, we're going to build a new school, guess what, we're going to build it on the Heath playing field. It'd be nonsense. So we have to protect parks, and there is land elsewhere, and I think we have to look at the land elsewhere, and if it does cost whichever trust or us, whoever has to pay for the land, then that's a cost they've got to bear. But there are alternatives, and I think we ought to explore those alternatives and try not to upset communities.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And, I'm going to have to address one issue before I get back to the words on the paper, and that's from the member of Aveley. It's very clear, I made very clear, the reason that the report was pulled today was because of legislative changes. And you've got to remember, to say that, no one's taken part in this consultation, or no one's taken part in this work, we worked with you and the other group leaders over a many long period of time to try and get this through. Indeed, I can remember one particular meeting in relation to this where we discussed the current grid of Thames for about 10 minutes to go on maps. So please don't try and say that these things just whizzed out by the Conservatives just put in front of us at the last minute. It just doesn't happen. But I'm going to get back to the words here and actually echo some of the words that Councillor Fletcher actually said. This isn't about one issue. This isn't about the sale of land for a school, or the sale of land for this, or the sale of land for that. It's the sale of land or property for anything. I remember sitting here on my second full council going through pretty much the same kind of motion because land had been sold urgently because there was a 7-day turnaround on it, and no one had actually thought to say anything to the local ward councils. And yes, quite rightly, that was wrong. That was listened to. Councillor Horgan made very, very, very clear that it should have made clear that the local ward members should be consulted in advance. He did, and has apologised. And I understand that actually most of the stuff is already written into our policies, and he's just reiterating it. And I'll be quite frank and open. This is exactly the type of thing we should be discussing this evening, but we should be discussing what's on the paper. This is not, as I say, about one issue. This is about everything that we sell. It's about everything we do as a council. There are pockets of land in Thurrock, I only found out very recently, been sold by the previous administration. I have no idea about it, I'll be brutally honest, it doesn't make much of a difference. It really doesn't. It just means a potential park might go somewhere else. But other than that, this is good wording, and I will be supporting it. I'm sure every member on my side of the chamber will be supporting it. Hopefully it will be universal across the chamber. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We're now going to move to the vote as it's almost 9:30. Are members in the chamber in favour of this motion?